But good morning to everybody. Is we got our Figured Out Friday. Our Figured Out Friday coming to you live. And we have somebody that I'm so excited. She was one of our leaders on the show. And I'm excited to introduce her here very shortly. So good morning, everybody in Facebook Live. Good morning to everybody on Zoom. I am driving, heading up north to the Charles Mack Center today, right here in Mooresville, for an event. My name is Brock Zevan. I'm a life coach, business coach, real estate agent, and a dad. It's a dad weekend for me. So batten down the hatches. It's like soccer weekend, birthday party weekend. It's never a dull moment. So Bryce has his first soccer game this weekend, 4 years old, first soccer game. It's supposed to be 55 degrees and rain. No better place than I love to be than watching a bunch of 4-year-olds playing soccer in the cold and the rain. So this should be pretty entertaining this weekend. So stay tuned for the stories on Monday on what takes place. So good morning, everybody. And today, Figured Out Friday. Each Friday, we bring on guests, or I have previous people that may be deceased that have a story, something that they had to overcome, something that they had challenges in their life. And the coolest thing is, lately, I get people who've been sending me people like, Brock, you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to this person. And it's pretty amazing to hear other people's stories. And I appreciate it. If you know somebody that you think that needs to be on this show, please reach out to me, send me a message. And I definitely love talking to people and hearing about their stories. And today we have Sandy, and Sandy's been one of our leaders here on Tuesdays that leads our call. And she's had some opportunities that come her way in the last 30, 40 days on her growth and where she is. And Sandy and I met, I don't even know how many, it's been less than a year, but I feel like I've known her majority of my life, and being blessed to talk to her and hear what she's got. And like, I just remember I was in the car again, and I remember calling her and speaking to her the first time, because I would hear her come on to the show, and I'm like, Sandy, I got to meet you. I got to understand more about you, what you got going on. And she shared me her story, and I was like, damn, wow. That's just like, anytime you leave a conversation like jaw dropped in awe, it's just amazing to me, and where people and the resilience. Somebody was telling me about, they were worried about their kids. I said, please, kids are the most resilient. As we get as adults, we lose that resiliency. We lose that adversity that we just like, oh, I can't do it. And Sandy defined odds. She freaking fought through so many different things in her life. And I was like, we need to have you on the story today to be able, because people hear you, but they might not know your full story of what took place in your life, as well as where you are today. I mean, you were in the Caribbean with a business deal and just all this cool, amazing things, and a powerful woman. And so, Sandy, good morning to you.
Good morning, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for letting me come on and just share and be vulnerable and raw and candid today with you. And Brock, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this leadership team. I couldn't be more blessed, and I've enjoyed sharing messages of growth and just in all reality what I'm going through, because I think when we gather together with like minds, we find that we're all dealing with the same obstacles, but just in different environments. It may be in the lending environment or the brokerage or entrepreneurship, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, the common denominator is that our issues and our growth opportunities tend to be the same. So I don't share my story a lot. So this is new for me. But what I will tell you is that my story is my story, and we all have one. You have a story, and I hope that if anything, by me sharing mine with you, it encourages you to share yours with others. Because until I actually became vulnerable and raw and started sharing my story, my network was this big. When I started being real and connecting with people, that's when opportunities came for growth, for success. And that's what I attribute to where I am today, by just being open and being vulnerable and being transparent, authentic, and honest. And that's how I strive to live my life every single day. So, my story doesn't start out with too much of a humble beginning, but I have learned humility along the way. I grew up in a small family, good parents, a small town, good grades, was a smart kid. I had a younger brother, a year younger. Life was good. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. That was a big deal for me growing up. We didn't have money saved away. I didn't have a 529 account. So I ended up getting my associate's degree a week before I got my high school diploma. It was like a program we had in my school. And then from there, I transferred and got my bachelor's degree at 19 years old. What I realized is graduating college and trying to go into the real world and get into a 401k, I would get the job and then realize, oh, you're not 21. This doesn't work. We can't quite hire you yet. So I ended up working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car for 3 years. For those of you who know that company, it's all about recruiting college graduates, and it's learning how to run a company from bad debt, good debt, customer service, and everything about it. So awesome experience. Did that for 3 years. And as soon as I was 21 and could get a real job that didn't care that I couldn't do their 401k or whatever, I ended up going into the pharmaceutical world. And for me, that was a dream job. I had a drug that I believed in. I loved what I did. And I continued to grow with that. I did that for 20 years. And I never thought I would leave that. I thought I would retire from pharma. That was my goal, my plan, and super happy. But sometimes big guy upstairs has different plans for us. And anyhow, during that time, I fell in love. I met a man. He worked for the same company I did. He lived in Charlotte. I lived in Seattle, and absolutely fell in love. My dream guy. And we dated long distance for a good period of time. And then I moved to Charlotte, fell in love with Charlotte. We got married, had a baby, which I now have a 14-year-old daughter. So best blessing of my life. Unfortunately, when she was about 6 years old, our marriage, we decided that it just was not solving. It wasn't working for us anymore. For me, that was devastating. It was 2015. I had a 6-year-old. I had no family here. My friends were his friends. And I had built a network of a good group. At the time, I didn't know it yet. It wasn't until I was on my knees that my network came out and I realized that I wasn't truly alone. But when that occurred, I felt alone. I remember calling my mom at 2 a.m. when the straw that broke the camel's back was exposed and saying, I know why people want to in their lives now, because this pain is so, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I remember her saying, it's okay. You're going to be okay. And I trusted that, and I fought through it, and I got into therapy, and that's where that journey began. And, that year at work, I won President's Club. I threw myself into work and being a mom. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to worry about dating till my daughter goes to college. I am going to be a mom. I'm going to focus on my career. And that's what I set out to do. My mind was strong and I was moving. So I did. Like I said, I won President's Club. It was a successful year for me. It was also a very challenging time. It was new to me. I had never been a single parent on my own, and my daughter was with me full time. She would go to her dad's every other weekend, and working full time, running a household, grocery shopping, dinners, and everything. It's a lot. It's not impossible, but it's a lot. And I began to show symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis or an autoimmune disease. So I was running a fever every day, very fatigued. I was losing weight. And so that's when my journey with visiting doctors began. So it was about 2016 that I just couldn't take it. I needed help. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's exactly what I said. Someone help me. And if anybody believed in drugs, it was this girl. I always would be like, why would you have a baby without an epidural? If you have a headache, why would you not take an Aleve? Like, if we have a problem, there's a med, let's just put it in our mouth and feel better. This isn't rocket science. That was my mindset. So when I went to the doctor and we did the tests, and it came back inconclusive, but due to the fact that I had the symptoms and everything, the doctor decided that it would be best for me to see a rheumatologist and be proactive and treat this. I was at a young age, and let's not let it progress. And so that's what I did. And I went along with that and started steroids and the treatment that goes with that. And then of course I gained weight. And so then I developed blood pressure problems. And then I ended up with heart disease and then diabetes, pre-diabetes. And over the course of 4 years, I ended up just getting sicker and sicker, which the doctors attributed to my RA progressing. And it was right the week before COVID, I ended up in liver failure. Now, keep in mind, before that occurred, I also became addicted to alcohol. It was the only thing that would kind of make me feel better. I mean, I was big. I was not feeling well. I couldn't exercise because I'd become tachycardic. So it was very difficult. I could work out for maybe 10 minutes and I'd turn purple and have to take a break. So it was like all of these things, get up and go run, but I couldn't eat without starting to hyperventilate. My body wouldn't allow me to do that. So talk about feeling hopeless. And then to be facing liver failure and being told I needed to give up the alcohol, but I figured I was dying anyways. This was my way of my body shutting down. Why would I give that up? It's the only thing that's bringing me any type of relief right now. And so when I did actually hit liver failure, and there was no choice. I had to come off of the alcohol, and that was a struggle for me. I had to come off of, I was taking 13 different prescription pills a day for my different diagnoses. And so half of those had to be removed. They kept on what they felt was most necessary to get me through detox is basically what I had to go through. At that point, my bestest friend, my sister, oh my gosh, she moved up from Florida, and she took a huge role in my life. COVID was just occurring, and she's a vegan. She smokes pot. She doesn't do sugar, doesn't do alcohol. Probably the healthiest person I've ever known in my life. And she said, let me just take over your world. Let me do this for you. Please just eat what I eat, do what I do. You're going to follow my game plan. You're going to listen to me. There's nobody else in the world I would have said, okay, I'm going to do this. But I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And it was amazing. Within 3 months of her turmeric and her supplements and her CBDs and all of this, my body started healing. My liver was healing. Within 6 months, I was back to my old self. Like, I could exercise. Life was good. My follow-up at my doctor showed I didn't have RA. It was a misdiagnosis. Truly, I had the diagnoses that I was given. So there were no doctors to blame. I had a cardiologist. I had a rheumatologist. I had my different specialty doctors, and I met criteria for all the diagnoses that I was given. So it wasn't like I could turn around and say, y'all lied, or it was what it was. So at this point, I chose to be grateful that I was willing to listen to somebody, and it worked for me. I will tell you, at that point, I became a little bit like, gosh, am I doing the right thing? Everything I believed in, I was starting to question the idea of pharmaceuticals and such. So anyways, we ended up flipping a house as I got healthier, and she had gone through a divorce about the same time I had. So we were a real network for each other, and just always had been since we were about 10 years old. So she had an ulcer during the time we were flipping the house. And she had never been sick before. She had an ulcer for years, but she always just took Tums or whatever. And I was like, ulcers this isn't a big deal. I know you don't believe in doctors and medicines, but just go see one. You just need a generic pill. It's a proton pump inhibitor, an antibiotic. It'll knock it out. You're good. Okay. People get ulcers. So she did, and she went to a doctor, and she got her prescription. She showed me, I made her show me that she actually went to a doctor because she didn't believe in going to doctors. So the fact that she did, I was proud of her. Within a couple of weeks, she was feeling better, and here I was healthy, and we decided, I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave pharma, and we're going to do house flipping full time. We had so much fun flipping this house, and we made good money. I figured if we did 2 of those a year, hell yeah, girl, we got this. And fortunately, my parents, just so y'all know, I have an awesome family. They were able to move out and be here with me during the time that I was going through that detox. So I had a network, life was good. And now here I was healthy again. My sister was feeling good. We had a career direction. We flipped this house. And in fact, it was that weekend we had gone and got our nails done, and she was going to throw a party that I was going to live. My parents had decided they were going to move back to Seattle. I was healthy. Life was good. And that's what we were going to plan to do. And it was 2 days later that I found her dead in the bathtub in the flip house. I knew that she was dead when I found her. I know that, but I refused to believe it. So instead I called 911 and said she had fallen in purple shampoo. And I tried for 14 minutes to bring her back. I remember I slapped her. I begged her. I did everything I could. I bargained. Nothing. Her teeth were, there was nothing. That was a shock to me. That was a shock. I felt like it was a prank, because what I found out, it was an ulcer that burst. And the doctor that she went to prescribed a homeopathic holistic remedy that masked the symptoms. So what she took, she thought she was cured. It masked it, all of the concoction that they created. And to know that I had the proton pump inhibitor and antibiotic in my medicine cabinet from all the drugs that I had taken over the past 4 years, to know that they were sitting there, and that this was absolutely an unnecessary death, and that the doctor that she went to even diagnosed it as an ulcer, but still chose to treat it in a homeopathic way, knowing that this one way is 100% cure driven. It's 2 generic drugs. It was mind boggling to me. And so the reality is everything I thought I knew about drugs and didn't know. And I was so flippin' confused. I really believed it was a prank. I did not believe this was real. So that was the beginning of my developing some humility. Surprisingly, I did quite well for the next couple months. I planned the funeral. It was all in her way, Louis Vuitton, barn, shabby chic. We had it in the actual Grange in our small town where we had our dances growing up. It was during COVID, but the place was packed. Our family, our friends that we grew up with, everybody came. It was such a blessing to share that and to be a part of that. And then I had to go back to work. This happened in September 29th, my brother's birthday. I found her. And there I was launching a new drug in front of a neurologist. And I knew I was struggling, but I didn't realize to the extent that I was struggling. And he said, "Hey, Sandy, what's this new drug you got? I want to hear about it." And I was covering a territory for a counterpart. This wasn't even my territory, but fortunately I'd known this doctor for 16 years. And so I opened my visual aids and I said, and tears just started to stream because I couldn't get any words out. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just knew that I wanted to say something, but no words would come. And he said, "Do you want to try and read?" And I couldn't read. I didn't know what a neurotransmitter was. This was a job I was a pro at. This was a job I just won President's Club and was winning it again. This was my career. And right now, and in that moment, I didn't know what a neurotransmitter was. I can't tell you how scared I was because I didn't know what was happening to me. I went and sat in my car and I just cried. I thought, pull it together. I gave myself a pep talk. "Sandy, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Stop this. Like, you know this. Like, stop. What's going on?" I went to Michael's. I was right before Christmas and I thought, I got to get my wrapping paper. I'm going to stop. I went in, I stood in the line, I checked out, and it happened again. A lady looked at me funny because I was fumbling, trying to find stuff. I felt I was being judged. It was a weird situation. And anyways, I got to the parking lot and I couldn't figure out which car to get in. I couldn't find my car. And I was just walking around and and somebody just said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I don't know what's wrong with me. My sister just died and I can't figure out which car to get it." So she said, "Let's find it with your alarm." And that's what we did. And I got in my car and I cried again. And at this point, I knew something was really wrong with me. I called my boss. I didn't even call her after that, what happened. I called her after that because now I knew something's wrong. And I said, "Something's really wrong with me. I don't know what's happening." And at that point, I got in touch with it was a neurologist that this happened with. And so he reached out to me. We got in touch. I saw a psychiatrist, the very best one, the very next day. And the reality is what was happening. I was given a diagnosis of complex trauma, PTSD, adjustment disorder with mixed episodes. I was a psychiatry pharmaceutical rep for 20 years. Psychiatry was all I knew. I got into it because it boggled my mind how anybody could have an episode at any given time, that we all have this imaginary line. And when you cross it, your mind is blown. Not saying like this will blow your mind. Folks, it can happen. My mind was blown. I didn't believe that my sister needed 2 drugs, but yet I was given 13 of the wrong ones. Here I was healthy. I could run. I was playing tennis. I was flipping houses. And yet just 6 months prior, I was doing my will with my parents and trying to figure out my daughter's arrangements. So there was a 3 days where her and I both felt like we were healthy. I almost felt like I owned the world. I could do anything. And then that 3 days later, I found her. It was a shock to my system. So now it began. I didn't know what was wrong. I knew that I accepted the diagnosis. I was more concerned about, when am I going to talk again? When can we fix this? Like, I clearly wasn't going to flip houses anymore. So I had to get back into the idea. I'm a pharmaceutical rep. This is my job. And now I couldn't do my job. I was kind of screwed. So I got into therapy. We started EMDR processing. It's a way of reprocessing your brain. As Christian he taught me, reframing. We do it with veterans, rape victims. People have been through serious traumas. Until you learn to reframe and reprocess, it's impossible to move forward. Impossible. The idea of what they were teaching me, at first I was resistant, tapping my head and these weird things and all these things that come along with EMDR. I was like, this is crazy, man. And what my doctor told me is, sooner you fall into this and you accept this where you are, the sooner you will begin doing the things you need to do to become stronger and heal from it. This will become your greatest blessing. Today, it doesn't feel like it, but it will. And at that point, I decided, you know what? If I had to eat mulch in order to get my speech back, I would do it. So I started tapping my head. I started going all in my therapy. I was doing it every day. It was very intensive. I had the option to either take disability with work and do an inpatient type treatment, or I could push through this and do therapy along the side, have support of my boss. And that's what I chose to do. My boss would ride with me on calls. There were times on conference calls I would want to talk, but I couldn't get the words out. There were times in front of doctors that I would find myself tapping my head to calm down because I had already had a seizure and I didn't want to have another one. It was a process. It truly was. But here's the thing. During that time, I had to evaluate my life. I had to grow. I have a daughter who I thought was going to be her guardian was gone. And here I was healthy. The roles got switched on me real quick. So I continued to do better. My speech to this day, if you put me in front of a doctor, it's what we call triggering. And I will stutter. I will question myself because I find that I talk with conviction when I believe in something with all my heart. And when I believe in something with all my heart, I go for it. And that's when I decided to maybe change gears. I got on a plane by myself. I went to Miami. I learned about multifamily investing. I learned that flipping an apartment is no different than flipping a house. In fact, it's less risk and it's just more of a process-driven thing. Me being an entrepreneur and understanding process and running a business, I was like, I'm going to do this. I came back. I bought an apartment complex in Charlotte. I flipped it. And I was able to generate enough passive income that it surpassed what I was making in pharmaceuticals. So I decided to retire from that profession. I left on top. It felt good. And I walked away. I will never say I will never do it again. I don't know. But right now I know that I found my place, and I found it through growing, through tragedy thrown at me. My sister's not with me today and physically, but she's with me every single day. It's her belief in me that keeps me going. Do I necessarily believe pharmaceuticals are evil? No, because had she had just 2 pills, she'd be here with us today. Do I believe that doctors overprescribe and overdiagnose, and that we go to the doctors far too often when we have a little ache and pain? Yes. The more pills we take, our bodies cannot take it. There is a risk versus benefit with everything you put in your mouth. Food, alcohol, drugs, it doesn't matter. There is a risk benefit for everything you put in your brain. The words that you hear, the network you surround yourself with. I was so scared. There was a period of time that I couldn't leave my closet or my house. I had to start filling my mind with what I was learning and grow beyond it. So my point to you is, I'm not broken. Sometimes we think we're broken because we've gone through brokenness. I'm not broken. I'm the healthiest 43-year-old there is. I can run around this block twice. I can play tennis. I can do great things, people. My life is not over. I am not dying. I'm going to continue to buy apartments. And what I learned is I don't just flip apartments. I build communities. So I go in where there's been deferred maintenance, and I take it over and I build a community. I bring in residents who have been through trauma, who are rebuilding. So they're with me 12 to 18 months. I teach them how to wholesale real estate. And then I serve traveling nurses because my sister was my nurse. And I think how hard nurses have it. All the time she told me, do this, do that. And I'd be like, that tastes horrible. I don't want that. No. And she did it out of love. And we do that to our nurses. So listen, when people are reaching out to extend a grapevine, listen, take it. The people who want to see you succeed will help you do just that. So surround yourself with the right people, open your mind. Don't be afraid to grow. And when you think it's over, put your faith in God. Pray. Prayer is what I attribute to sitting here today. Without faith, I think I would have thrown the towel in because the pain was just far too much. And I think what I suffered from was not RA, it was heartbreak. And the reason I know that is because when I lost my sister, that pain that I felt was times 100 of what I felt of the divorce. And with the divorce, I thought I had an autoimmune disease because I just was so sick all the time. It was heartbreak. So my message to y'all is, this is life. Life is emotional abuse. Life is a roller coaster. Life is up and downs. Like, take that and let it fuel you. Get some faith, get yourself in the right rooms around the right people, and just keep growing. So that's my story. And I'm absolutely where I'm supposed to be today, buying apartments. So I've got 12 units here in Charlotte. I've got a rental in Indian Trail, 50 units in St. Croix, a resort. We're building a bar and a pool. So excited about that. And then of course, with Cardone Capital, I co-own over 1,000 doors. So listen, this is where it is. I'm super happy. I couldn't be more thankful to share my story with you. And I wish you all the very best weekend. And I hope that this inspires you to get past whatever it is that you're doing. Reach out and call me, talk to me if you want to know more about EMDR, brain reprocessing. It's a process, and we're all in this boat together for sure. So I'm thankful for all of you. And Brock, I'll turn it back over to you. We're 8:46 and I'm such a stickler on time. So I apologize.
No, you are perfectly fine. Sandy, please. I love you so much. I just, like, anytime I hear your story, like, I get emotional just thinking about it. I mean, I've heard it now a couple times and still to this day, like, and so I ask people on this call, like, there's triggers. that it's hard to say these stories. It's emotional because you have to go back into that time period. Like I get emotional when I share my story of the pain. So please give her some love on Facebook, give her some love on Zoom here. And you are an inspiration. I love your story. I love that people get an opportunity, for those that are on here, especially on a Friday, taking time to hear other people's stories could inspire you. Hearing your passion and where you are today is just truly amazing. I'm thankful to have you in my life, and you inspire me. You motivate me because there's certain pain points that I can't even fathom and imagine. And for you to share that and being vulnerable, I appreciate that, because that's what this is all about. There's people on this call today, people who watch this recording, people who will see this and feel this. And it's like, I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it, because we're all going through it. We all have a story on here today. So God bless you, Sandy. And thank you so much for being on here and sharing your story. And guys, for those that are on here, please give her some love, give her some hearts, give her some thumbs up of what she did, because when you when you pour out to strangers, sometimes it's like, what am I doing? And so thank you all for being on here. A couple new people. Fred, thanks for being on here. Thanks, Christian. Christian, am I going to see you soon, buddy? Are you going to be at the event? So I got to skedaddle. I got this thing with I'm excited to be with John Maxwell and his team today, and speaking today. So I got to run into this event that I'm doing here. And guys, I appreciate you. Sandy, thank you so much for sharing. Please DM her, look her up on Facebook, guys. She is there. I appreciate you sharing this morning, Sandy. Appreciate all. Everybody have a phenomenal weekend. And I will be back at Monday, 8:15 for our morning and mindset show. Guys, have a great weekend. Love you all. God bless you. See you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.